Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first webinar. This is going to be on the reserve study proposal. A reserve study includes two main sections, a physical analysis and a financial analysis. Once the proposal is accepted, signed, and returned to us, we then set up an interview with the property manager or board member, collect collateral data, and then set up the actual site visit for the reserve study. The importance of the proposal is that it sets the parameters of what will and will not be provided in the study process along with the finished report. The proposal outlines the physical analysis, which consists of an inventory list of the common components and assigned useful life expectancies to each of the components based on their current condition. The proposal also outlines financial analysis, which assigns future replacement costs to each of the components and then recommends a funding plan to ensure that the necessary funds will be available as the expenses occur. Now let's look at our reserve study proposal. As we go through it, you'll get a clear understanding of why it is not just a document for accepting the job that we are going to perform. The Level 1 study will be performed in compliance with CAI, Community Association Institute, National Reserve Study Standards, as well as applicable state guidelines. National standards ensure that whether we're performing a study in Virginia or Texas, you will be assured that our team of experts will deliver a reserve study that is not only a quality report, but one that will be a practical guide for the HOA or condo association in managing the reserves as they move forward. It will be necessary for us to have a property description with emphasis on the community location, what the community consists of in terms of the buildings, roadways, amenities, and other items that are going to be included in the reserves, when the property was built. This will help us to price the job competitively based on the time necessary both in the office and on the site. The study will include all common elements for which reserves are to be accumulated. We want to ensure that the components included are true line item elements that warrant reserve funding. We carefully analyze components and elements to determine whether they are true reserve items or they'd be better off funded through the general funding or operating budget. The purpose of the scope of the study is to be used as a tool to assist the association in developing a funding plan for future repair or replacement of major common areas, elements, and components. If available and applicable, we review and conduct the following: review of the site plans, building plans, and other collateral documents provided by the property manager or association board. Review of maintenance plans, review of existing funding studies provided, review of funding financials provided, and compiling an inventory of all common components and elements. We conduct an on-site visual survey of common components and elements, provide an estimate for remaining useful life of those common components and elements. Photographs of applicable areas are taken of general systems and areas that may need further assistance by the association. We provide replacement cost estimates and also provide financial scheduling. Unless otherwise requested, we assume a 30-year time frame for the study. It should be noted that regular updates to the study will be necessary due to changes in the property and building conditions, changes in the funding status, and fluctuations in component and inflation costs. We take all of those into consideration when we package the report, and also before that when we're doing our site visit. The most successful studies are those which are done in a closely interactive relationship with the client and its management professionals. A comprehensive on-site evaluation by an experienced project manager and on-site reserve analyst will be conducted, and the resulting data compiled and analyzed. At the time, a preliminary report will be submitted to the client for review and comment. Based on the client's input, the report will be revised. It should be noted that we request revisions to be submitted within 60 days of the date of the preliminary report, and all changes needed be performed at the same time to avoid additional charges. Basically what that means is that we don't like to do changes to the report, revisions, on a piecemeal basis. It's not a practical way of doing it, and also it can incur additional charges to the association. The reserve study will include, at the discretion of the client, factoring in for inflation and interest earned on the reserve balance using both pre-agreed inflation and interest rates. During the course of the visual inspection, conditions may be observed which reasonably warrant additional investigation. Commercial Assessments, being a full-service inspection firm, can arrange for these specialized services for an additional cost to determine if the client elects to contract with us via written approval. These could be engineering studies, it could be recommendations for roof system coring samples, or other types of services which would be beneficial to the property to help get the costs in line with their reserves. Evaluation of hazardous material in the buildings or on the grounds of a property would not necessarily be included in a reserve study. These would be items that would not be considered reserve line items. They should not be funded in a reserve study, and you can have these evaluated by the appropriate professional. The services provided by Commercial Assessments, unless otherwise contracted, do not include pest inspection, evaluation of underground fuel tanks, wells, water treatment systems, septic systems, indoor air quality. We will incorporate the results of special inspections into the study upon the request of the association. Unless defined in the scope of the services, the study also will not include the evaluation of the property's compliance with building codes, zoning requirements, or other sub-trade codes. The study will also not include compliance with Disability Act, Federal Rehabilitation Act, or the Fair Housing Act. Now that the proposal has been accepted and signed, we move on to the next phase of the reserve study, which is the client interview, which is done prior to the site visit. This will be discussed in our next webinar.